With your tenure as a manager at Amazon, I kind of wanted to talk about management practices like stack ranking, performance-based layoffs, PIPs, those types of things. So I'm curious, Amazon's pretty famous for stack ranking and, really aggressively managing people out.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on these types of systems?
About 10 years ago, Amazon ran an experiment where, after getting years of bad press for stack ranking, they removed what was called the unregretted attrition goal. So Amazon has a goal every year for what they call unregretted attrition, which means people, it's a nice way of saying people we want to leave. And we don't care if you pressure them into quitting or they get fired. It's just there's a number, and you put people on a list of folks you want out, and you can either improve their performance to where you take them off the list, they can quit, or you can fire them. But you have to hit a goal, and it's usually like 7% a year. Sometimes it's as low as 4, sometimes it's as much as 7. Amazon uses lots of words to kind of cloak this process, but the bottom line is it's fire the bottom 5% or so. Here's the thing. When we remove the goal, managers immediately stop having hard conversations and talking to their struggling performers, because without the pressure of having to do it, it was just easier to focus on your good people and let that problem person hang around, because it's not, in a big company, it's not costing your burn rate that you know about or care about, and you don't have to have that unpleasant conversation, and you also don't have to be the bad guy. One of the worst things about being a manager is you may have someone who isn't very good but is well-liked. They're friendly, they are outgoing, they bring donuts, they organize the parties, everybody likes them, and so now you have to not only have a hard conversation with them, but if you do move them out, or if they talk to other people like, Ethan's trying to fire me, then everybody's like, why are you trying to fire Ryan? He's awesome. We love him. Well, it may be that, you have lots of performance problems, but other people aren't seeing those. So when we remove the goal, people stop having the hard conversation. So the next year, Amazon put it back, and it's kept it every year since. So on the one hand, many managers avoid actually performance managing if they're not forced at gunpoint. An unfortunate truth. On the other hand, because there's a list and because there's a goal, you would then be in a situation where someone who had a chance to succeed, maybe, you had to put on the list to make your quota, and you ask how well the PIPs work. I think most PIPs are a combination of dishonest and or psychologically unrealistic, because once I've decided that I'm going to put you on this list, or once I've decided you're enough of a problem that I need to write up this plan and have this ugly conversation with you, mentally I've already moved to, we have to get rid of Ethan, right? We have to get rid of Ryan. They're not good. Recovering, it sort of doesn't matter what you do unless it's amazing. I've already decided, and so my cognitive bias is going to be self-fulfilling. So what I recommend, this has happened. I coach people. I have had half a dozen people reach out to me for coaching and say, I was just put on a PIP at Amazon. I really want to succeed. Help me. And I've tried, and they've all gotten fired. And so now when people call me, this is funny. They call me and they say, I'm on a PIP. And I'm like, so what you need to do is spend that time on the PIP looking for your next job, because you're going to be fired. And they're like, no, I'm going to overcome it. And I'm like, good luck with that. Tell me what happens. And 3 months later, I get a note that says, you were right, I was fired. And the reason I state both people I coach and people I don't is, of course, you could suspect, well, maybe I'm a lousy coach and I didn't dig them out of the hole. But the people I didn't coach got fired too. It's like once you're at that stage, it's gonna happen. Very few people ever dig out of them. Now, I believe some managers in their minds start a PIP with honest, good intention. But at least at Amazon, you have your HR business partner and your boss asking you all the time, how's it going? When are we going to exit that person? I need them on my quota. If you actually want to take someone off a PIP, more than likely, your manager is going to be saying, well, who else are you going to put on? Because we still have to meet the number. So you're looking around and you're like, well, I put the lowest performing person on my team on, and now I'm being told if I take them off a PIP, I have to put somebody else on. So of course you're like, well, so the conclusion is companies stink at performance management. They don't train managers how to do it. They don't train managers how to have the conversation early. They don't create a system where you can talk to people and say, this isn't working out. Maybe you want to leave, because that opens you up to a lawsuit. We just have a dysfunctional performance system.
In your writing, you wrote something that said a manager can fire anyone they want, and HR is not there to protect you. I would have thought there's checks and balances to this. That is not true. I guess I would hope that it's not true. What is stopping a manager from painting their report in an unfair light, or is there nothing stopping that?
I love that you called this out. I agree with what I wrote. The nuance is, as a manager, I could get rid of any one employee I wanted, but I can't get rid of every employee. And so if I create a pattern where I'm driving one employee after another out, I will eventually get caught and burned for that, because we do look at what is a manager's turnover rate. My point was, for any single employee, I can absolutely, if I choose to, end that person's career at my company. And at Amazon, it's as simple as put them on this list. It's partly who strikes first. So by the time you go to HR, I've already put you on this list and told my story of why I think you're bad. And now you're going, no, it's unfair. He hates me. Well, the problem is all the people they've heard from who are legitimately bad are saying the same thing, right? They're saying, no, I'm actually good. It's my boss hates me and doesn't understand me. So they hear that story every day. So when you legitimately tell it and it's actually true and it's just, I hate you, you end up sounding like everyone else. And so that's why it's stacked in my favor. Now, I have never done this, but I've looked at the system and just seen, I have people all the time who say, well, my boss told a lie about me. Well, again, it's your word versus mine, and I'm the one who's got the higher level, maybe the more tenure. If I choose to say, well, Ryan looks really busy, but he's mostly just doing pull requests on other people's code, I can downplay what you're doing. Because see, I can tell this story of Ryan is an amazing engineer. He makes everybody's code better because he does all these insightful reviews and he's up-leveling the whole team. That's narrative one. Same facts. He did 700 pull requests this quarter or whatever. Narrative two is, Ryan actually doesn't contribute much. He thinks he does, and he spends all this time doing code reviews, but look at how little he's actually written himself. And really, he's just busy nitpicking people and churning away. And sure, his numbers look good, but those numbers are actually a sign of the problem. Now, I've taken your same performance and spun it two ways. My point that people aren't going to like is a manager can do that. And maybe they're doing that because they're a jerk and they've decided you threaten them and they want to get rid of you. Maybe they just have a different view. You think you're doing really valuable stuff and they don't, and they're saying what they honestly believe. But the point is, performance that you would think is really easy to measure, like, look at these numbers, look how many valuable code reviews I did, can be used either way. Nothing about software engineering performance is so objective. And so bad managers, truly bad or evil managers, do get caught eventually. But clever managers who just want to get rid of one person would be able to do that because they're in the driver's seat. And more importantly, they get to make the preemptive strike. They get to tell the story about why that person's a problem before that person ever knows it's happening. And so it's kind of like, yes, you can slap the mosquito after it bites you, but it doesn't take away being bitten.
I mean, it's unfortunate that that's true, but it also illustrates the power of storytelling in a way. The exact same facts can be spun as a bad thing or a good thing. So
people are going to hear this and believe like, oh, see, managers are just like personally firing people because they hate them. I am sure that happens. It's not in a manager's best interest. They are judged on accomplishing their goals. Good managers are trying to find partners they can work with that will help everyone achieve. I just want to be honest that if you do have a difficult boss and you make them angry and they're a vindictive sort of person, beware, they hold, like you're bringing a knife to a gunfight. They're the one with the gun and you're probably going to lose. If you have a boss like that, don't get in the knife or gunfight. Either figure out what you can allow you to make friends with them or find a different manager. That's the actual point. Don't think that somehow HR is going to come investigate and rescue you.